You're going to pay double almost if you don't pay that off sooner. Some of the tips and tricks is your mortgage payment is, let's say $1,000 a month. Let's keep it simple. If you send in $500 on the 15th and $500 on the 1st, you're going to pay off interest faster because money is being thrown at the debt quicker.
Our guest today is an expert at retirement planning, debt elimination, and wealth management, as well as a 4-time Amazon best-selling author. In 2022, he founded Diane Money, something we're going to talk a little bit about today. It's an app for consumers to get out of debt and stay there. He is also the host of the Retire As You Desire TV and show and podcast. Welcome to the show, my friend, Mr. Bill Bloom.
Richard, I'm so honored to be on your show today. I'm a huge fan. And it's remarkable to see what you're doing, just not on the lifetime banking aspect of things and becoming your own personal banker, which I'm a huge fan of, by the way. It's just great to see other people in our industry in different countries, right, doing great things for their people. So thank you.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. Now, Bill, before we hit the record button, we were having a little bit of a kind of a fireside chat. We're just going to continue that chat on, and we're going to bring the viewers in with us a little bit. And we're talking about some of the major challenges that we all face. And you were kind of talking about where you're at today, at present. Often when I have these conversations with folks and entrepreneurs, we go back to some of these things from global strife or an economic downturn or some other thing that really kind of rocked their world to some degree, and they had to really put everything back together again. It's like someone smashed the Lego build and you got to put all the pieces back together.
Yeah.
And our conversation already before we hit the record button was going a little bit of a different direction. It's really about where we are at right now and some of the thinking that you've had to do that's been a bit of a challenge that you've been really working on and doing a lot of self-work in relation to how you think about life and business and how those things come together.
It's really been a phenomenal journey up until this point. I mean, I'm 39 now, and I've realized I've planned out the life that I've wanted up until this point, like my wife and our 2 kids, and it's amazing, and business and having free time. And our great friend Dan Sullivan, really preaches on free days and having our own space to think and be. And with this free time, it's really opened me up to think about what's important to my life. It's not about the material things. My wife and I had it was a hard conversation because I had my goals up on our board in my office. And it was all these things that I wanted and like a bigger house and all this stuff. And she's like, what is all this stuff? Like, what does this even mean? It was like sort of that kick in the butt moment where the universe is talking to you. And then been reading and listening to a lot of Deepak Chopra's books. And I just finished up this morning, Michael Singer's great book, incredible book. The Surrender Experiment. And I'm just learning to let go. You want to control things as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. You want things to go your way, but the universe is giving you hints every single day. You just have to slow down and listen to them. And I just feel so much more at peace right now. And this has really just taken place over the past 3-4 weeks of my life. And it's phenomenal how things are changing and unfolding already.
Wow, that's incredible. And the fact that it's current for you, I think, is really interesting. And just, 39, might feel like you've got a lifetime of experience, but someone who's 69 watching our program says, oh, you barely even made a dent yet, young buck. They're going to give you some kind of a different context. But I really do think it's important because not only are you going through this experience and you and your wife are having these conversations, you're raising young kids, you're reflecting on your journey, thinking about what's coming up for them and their journey. And you're also surrounding yourself with a lot of high performing, key level entrepreneurs who are at various stages of their journey. You probably, like me, Bill, you're surrounded by a lot of folks who are probably older than you that have had various levels of success. And you're the kind of person, just knowing who you are, that you really actively listen to what their life experience has been like. And you try to figure, okay, well, how does that relate to me navigating the world of life?
1,000,000% yes. Here's a perfect example. Randy Mullen, who's another fellow Canadian, great guy in the Preppic Network, he introduced me to this gentleman named Chris Jarvis. and I went down to Dallas probably about a month and a half ago. And I sat in an all day session with him and a few other people in this bank. He introduced me to this bank to roll out Diane Money, one of my companies, for their people. So, like, I'm in discussions with rolling out one of my company's products to banks now and collaborating with other people like James Robert Lay and other folks through Coach to make a big difference in the world. Because when you take out the ego and you let it be about other people, that's when magic happens. And Chris Jarvis and I had a call this morning, and we're collaborating on creating a new company. And his unique superpower is figuring out ways to show entrepreneurs how to lower their taxes here in the United States by 20 to 40% in 90 days.
That sounds pretty good.
And we did my stuff this morning. Like, we spent 2 hours together, went through all of our taxes and all of our planning. He literally showed me in about 20 minutes on how we could save hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes, just my wife and I. So I don't think these things would have been happening to me with Diane Money and creating this new company with Chris to really give people value in the world and take yourself out and just put it into their hands and giving them opportunities to have a better life. And that's what I want to see happen moving forward.
Well, not only is that interesting from a perspective of how it's happening in your life, but it also sounds to me like we're going to have to rebook another recording to have you and Chris come back on and talk a little bit
Yeah.
about how Americans can use some of the amazing innovations that he's putting together using the tax code to benefit their lives.
Well, it correlates all back to some of the infinite banking strategies that you have and correlate with. I mean, it's not rocket science, but you have to understand math and the tax code. And in one of my practices, I understand these things. I really love them. But if you do the numbers will tell the story instead of guessing and I'm not picking on any accountants in the world. I think accountants are super important, but they don't do a lot of compare and contrast. They just do things one way, just how they were taught. A lot of doctors are that way. Doctors aren't creating their own tests. They're not testing vaccines. They're not testing drugs, right? They're just administering these things because that's how they were taught. So I think there's a systemic problem in a lot of these major professional practice areas because people are just following orders and they don't think differently. And I want to think differently, and that's how you provide value. I tell my 5-year-old this all the time when we talk about money. You have to provide value in order to get paid. That's how life works.
Well, and it's interesting because you mentioned a few professionals, but likewise, I think for the bulk of human society, at least in North America, similar things are happening. We're administering money in our personal lives. In other words, we're handling it, but we're not really keeping and retaining it. So
Precisely.
that's something we talk to people about is like, look, a lot of money is going to come in, but a lot of it's going to go out. You just handle it for a short period of time, and in the period that it's coming in and it's going out, it's what's being retained. How long can it work for you, and how many generations can you put it to work for? And that's really where the concept of, what Nelson taught us on the infinite banking concept comes into play, but also just good habits and management, which is a lot of what Diane Money is going to be about. We're going to get to that later in the show. But these are the type of things that when we kind of, it's like you have a car and the car has got a chassis, but on that chassis, once you have that frame, you can kind of customize and build different types of vehicles on top of that main chassis. And they all look a little bit different. They all
Yeah.
might have different features, but there's one kind of core element that's the stable force that the car's built on top of. And similarly to our financial lives that exist. And what I hear you saying, Bill, and what's going on for you personally right now is that you're thinking about the chassis that your life has been built on. And you're looking at making some modifications along the way to how you get that thing moving forward into the future.
Oh, yeah. Even money, like from a money perspective, it's great to make $1 million. It's great to do these things. It's great to have recurring revenue come in where you don't have to worry about money hitting your bank account every month. That's what I wanted because as a child, my parents were very loving, right? But they had a ton of financial problems, like the majority of people in this world, because again, lack of education. There's a common theme here. But I designed my life on purpose. And now that I'm here, I see that I'm a long way off from where my major purpose is intended to be.
Mm.
And that's part of that letting go and the surrender experiment and really creating my own right now because there's literally a stack of 45 credit cards. I may have showed this to you before, like in my office, that were my mom's credit cards that they had to, really shuffle throughout my childhood. They were late on their mortgage for months at a time. We didn't know if we were going to have a roof over our head. I knew this at 8 years old. I could feel the tension in my household just
Mm.
around money. So I want to alleviate those problems for people moving forward. And whether you're $100 million person, you have $1 million and you don't know how to make it last your lifetime, or you're struggling, right? You can't get out of credit card debt. It's a habitual thing. I feel like I've created 3 different companies to help people throughout all phases of their life.
Oh, that's powerful, and just the fact that you it sounds like that wasn't the original plan, but there was a connection to the objective of helping people and helping people around money, and that's somewhere where you and I resonate very, very clearly. And the fact that you were able to put it together in this like three-tiered structure somewhat is quite interesting.
It kind of just came to fruition. I mean, the last piece with working with Chris, that was like I allowed myself to be open and let the universe bring it to me because I always thought there was another level of planning that I could be doing. And he's teaching me all this. So I'm the mentee, he's the mentor. Big banks, big institutions call him in for planning. So it's pretty amazing to see how life just unfolds when you let go.
I'm really excited to dive more into this. We're going to talk a little bit more about the journey of creating Diane Money. I'm excited to go down that road with you, hear more about these 45 credit cards and how that relates to that endeavor. And we'll get to that as soon as we come back from these important messages.